Okay, we're almost all set up. We're gonna start the watch. This is the coolest watch face. It looks like tritium, and when it gets dark, we'll be able to see it a little bit better. But I go over here. Well, one thing, this is a T-Rex. It's updating, College Station, and this little app that I got wind direction, all kinds of stuff, sunrise, sunset. And the other thing is heart rate push from my watch to the bike computer, and there it went. And then the power meter pedals are showing up down here. So let's go ahead and get going. Sit here forever and it's just going to get dark on us, which we do want a little bit. And I have the light set up to blink for now. I am so excited to get this recorded on this ride and get it out as a show for you guys. This weekend, this is Thursday night, and this weekend I'm going to go for a long ride and be getting a whole bunch of stuff ready for, what's up guys? Get a whole bunch of stuff ready for our bike adventure. And so this weekend I need to already have been done recording and yeah. And be working on like trying to find a tent, and we got to dig through the garage and find stuff, and clean out my truck, get that all ready. Oh, look at that sunset. That's so cool. And then on this evening's ride, what we're going to do is possibly, I'll wait to see how sore my legs are, but possibly a little bit of interval work. But light interval work, because in 48 hours I'm going to ride again long, like 4 hours. This is just going to be an hour ride. What's up, man? So we're biking the Texas Hill Country Overland Trail. If you want to Google it, look up videos. It's an off-road trail for like trucks and Jeeps and stuff. It's a 4x4 trail. It's relatively mild, which makes it great for gravel biking. If it was crazy rough, then we would want to ride our mountain bikes on it. But it's half paved, so gravel bikes are way better because they'll be faster on the pavement parts between the really cool off-road parts. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump around and talk about topics as I think of them. It's classic Zen Endurance format, but just go down to the show notes and you'll see the order that I talk about things and what I mention. It looks like that neighborhood's starting to come along pretty good. And let's see. The fallout continues from the women's race in Kona. And the Norwegian woman won, and I cannot get her name straight. I can't remember it. But I just listened to an interview with her. There's like Slovene wolf's blood or something like that. And I mentioned on a previous video that the two women that were leading ended up racing too hard and then they blew up. And when I saw the interview with the Norwegian winner that passed them for the win was online, I was like, oh man, I gotta listen to this to see if her whole attitude to the race was just like, I'm just gonna show up and just be here and do it without too much expectations. Because that's how you don't blow up in an Ironman. And I was right. So go check it out. The podcast is the Norwegian Method podcast. And probably half an hour with her, talking about what it was like racing. Fastest ever debut. It was her first time ever racing Ironman Hawaii. And third youngest person, and this is for women, to win ever. And let's see. But yeah, she had a poor start. There was a paddleboard guy in front of her that was blocking her. And then surprised herself with how fast she went on the bike. Oh, something really cool that she said was that she didn't really think about splits, right? Because she comes from Olympic distance racing, and they don't care about splits. It's just who wins. And so she doesn't have that mindset of trying to break time records and stuff. That's a very important thing to remember. So she just raced within her limits as fast as she could go. She thought she could go for that distance. We're gonna do something fun here. I just ran across this bridge the other day. So we're going to, if there's a lot of traffic, when I turn and look behind me here, there's like a propeller plane right over here. Oh. If there's a lot of traffic, then we're gonna go that way. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic coming. Y'all can't really see it, but I can see a bunch coming. So, now the bridge is really sketchy, and I might just walk it. And also, it's riding a bicycle or running through tall grass could have big holes is actually not the wisest thing, because you can fall into a hole. Although I can kind of see what's going on. And then, how much do you trust that it's not going to turn on its side or whatever? This is kind of cool, because then you can walk this and then push your bike across that. Now we're adventure biking. This is a pipeline right away right here. We're in Texas, and it's just full of freaking pipelines. Sending oil from Houston to all you people live in other places. Every once in a while, one will blow up. It's not cool. And now the distance that I have to go to get to this stop sign is much shorter. I'm still going to wait there for this. This is all fun. It's part of the warm-up, right? See, there's no shoulder right here. And then it's irritating the cars. And then we're doing it out and back. And so we're gonna ride this on the way back. And that's really smart to use that thing so you don't get hit on this road. Yeah, so the Norwegian woman, yeah, she talked about how she just took it easy. Well, no. She definitely did not take it easy, but she raced within her limits. Wasn't really expecting to win, which is, that keeps you calm and cool. And an interesting thing is if you have setbacks early on in the race, there's this interesting effect where now you're just kind of in the pack a little bit and you've kind of accepted your fate, and it's actually faster. It's especially faster if you're an age grouper. Age groupers figured out that they can use the slingshot method, which means you can get, as you're passing another age grouper, the Ironman's non-drafting. We got some headwinds, so we're going to try to deal with that here. So you're not supposed to sit behind somebody for more than just a few seconds, and there's course judges on motorcycles and stuff. And so what you do is you get right up on somebody, you have to pass them. So you draft and then slingshot past them, like shake and bake. And over the period of 112 miles, that's actually way faster than riding off the front or riding solo. You get these periods of drafting that are legal. I'm gonna get an aero bar as well. We go into this headwind here. Get over into the bike lane. Now pros, when they pass, they can't come up directly behind somebody. They have to pass from the side. Now, if you're lucky, the wind's coming from the other side, but usually that's only like 30% of the time. You know? And then if they start to pass, they have to commit and make the pass all the way. So it's kind of stressful. But anyway, that screw up on the swim, not her screw up, but the race logistics screw up, had her off the back. But in swimming you can draft. So you've got, you're going faster on the swim with less effort. There is a little bit of drafting effect, even as a pro, with the longer distances and the passing method. And then being her first time on the island, just not knowing what she's doing really there. Well, she knows why she's there, but not knowing what, you know, how to race there. She just kept it under control and then ended up winning. Which is pretty wild. Oh, that sunset looks nice. Okay. There we go. Silca, which makes all kinds of cool stuff. They're like Apple, and after something's been released for a long time, they just make a better version of it, which is funny. And there's a new Land Cruiser. They introduced new TPU tubes. And the problem with TPU tubes is they split, tear, get cut, whatever, at the valve stem. Where the rim kind of cuts into them. And then the valves themselves are usually plasticky. And then you can't put any sealant in them. Or you can, it's just really difficult. For those of you that like to put sealant inside your inner tubes, if you're going to use an inner tube. But Silcas have a removable valve core. Now they're expensive, but then they also made them like a high performance version where there's no dye in them, no color, because that doesn't help you go any faster. Let's come to a stop. And that's nice. So they just repaved this road and added a little bit of shoulder for now. You know, in 5 years it'll be all crumbled away, but for now it's pretty great. I wish that other road back there had this shoulder on it. Anyway, they're 30-something bucks for these things. But I've had those exact same problems with TPU inner tubes. The seams are welded differently, so they don't split. They're not welded with glue. And then if they have the plastic valve stems, if you use one of those pocket pumps that everybody's using now, those actually generate a lot of heat and it can melt your valve stem. But they use metal valve stems all the way. Most TPU inner tubes that have metal ends on them, they're only metal at the tip or about halfway down, but not all the way down. So I've got a TPU inner tube for this bike packing trip. So I don't need one right now. And we're trying not to spend too much money before this thing so that we have money for emergencies and such. So we're not going to do that. And because we're going to have a support vehicle, we're just going to throw some butyl, the black heavy rubber ones, in the back of the tire, or the back of the truck. We're doing simulated no support. We're going to try to do no support, but if an emergency happens, we're going to have Emily with us. And plus she's a nurse, in case we get hurt. That's nice. And the course is so awesome. And we're going to camp on an island in the middle of the night on day one. Like real camping. And yeah, it's a off-road course and I have the off-road truck. So she was like, yeah, I do want to go and support you guys. And I know she'll be driving with the windows down and the sunroof open, just filling the inside of the truck with dust. But that's fine. They always clean that up, and then I want her to have a lot of fun. If somebody's supporting you, really cool for them to have fun. And the scenery's awesome. So Texas hill country is just gorgeous. Another sip of fuel. And then in other news, what's the name? Vaast, who was my previous bike frame manufacturer, has issued a recall, an official one, and mine cracked, and so I got a replacement. The same parent company owns Niner, so they sent me this Niner frame, and I was happy because I've been so tired of the rear clearance on the Vaast only allowing a 42 millimeter tire, which was fine when they came out with them. How many years ago? 4 or 5 years ago. But this one allows a 50 in the rear, and it is amazing. Oh, my legs are sore. So I run 23 PSI front and back, 50 front and rear tires. I've got on test the Continental Terra Dry or something. It's got a minor amount, very, almost slick in the middle, and a little bit of knobs on the side. I got that on the rear when I got that clearance. My front tire has a manufacturing defect in it, and it's rubbing the inside of my fork just a little bit. But anyway, so when mine cracked, I was doing Googling, and I found that there was a recall for the frame. And I said, oh, it's one thing for your frame to be cracked, then it's warranted, right? And then I said, oh, it's recalled. And they go, no, actually, we're trying to get them recalled. You found the document that's going out to bike shops. It's the stop sale. That's not an official recall. And I was like, well, can't you just replace this frame before it cracks on them and kills my son? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. We got no stop sign. Just need to be careful. We're coming up on Ezekiel here. They said, but they expect it to be recalled. And we looked through at Kai's bike, and there's no cracks on it yet. Last time we checked. And today, I saw the news. They're recalling the frames officially. Last time I checked, Kai's serial number was on the list. It's the very first batch, like the first year. The early pandemic bikes. And so Kai should be getting a new bike. And we'll see if they do cash. The discussion on the thread was they're doing aluminum hydroformed alloy, which is actually what this bike is. And let's see if Ezekiel's here. Zeke! We'll wait for a minute, see if he comes. When we come back, it'll probably be dark. Won't be able to see him. But we'll wait just for a second. Sometimes he comes running. So, there's a whole process. He's got to talk with them and get the frame delivered, and after they approve it and all that stuff. But I could not be more happy because Kai has been getting demoralized by getting flats on his rear tire because of the 50, having to run a 42, and he races Pro Division, and towards the front, it's like bike combat, you know, and you don't, it's like you're like at a Peloton, and you can't pick your line, and you end up riding over all kinds of crazy crap, and then you get flat tires. And especially on the rear on that bike, he's been running a bigger front, like a 47 or something, a 45 at least, but the you get like sidewall cuts, especially if you have wide rims like what he's got. Zeke! And okay, well, I guess there's no Zeke. Let's drink some water. I thought I saw something. Maybe not. Maybe they put them up once it starts getting dark. I got time. I'm gonna wait for this car to come because we're gonna turn left. Let me get out of the way. There's a van coming too. Oh, it's a mail truck, and I'm in front of the mailbox. Sorry. Oh, pink clouds. Look how pretty that is. Some more gravel. Now, you know, they're old frames and they're replacing them for free, so it would be nice if they replaced it with a carbon, because it really was a performance frame. They're magnesium frames, so they're like really cool. Really lightweight, lighter than aluminum. But all it does is add a pound. And a pound of non-rotational weight is like nothing. That's just a glass of water. So you can lose that yourself. I haven't ridden this road for a couple weeks, so I need to be a little careful. I don't know how slushy this sand is. There we go. And yeah, so as a pro racer, you know, you want carbon fiber for the lightest stuff, but man, take what you can get to get that 50 millimeter rear clearance. And it'll do a dropper post, and it'll do double chain ring if you ever want to go that direction. And it's got way more bolts on it to mount a top tube, that bottle cage I showed y'all that's slung underneath. It's got that. Doesn't have frame storage, but that's okay. How's it going? We're about to get out on a paved road to do some high-speed downhill after this left turn. You need to be a little careful. The bike actually has a lot of hidden cool stuff on it, like the power meter pedals, because the alloy Niner is actually an inexpensive frame, but there's something else that's really cool on this. Ah, it slipped my mind. Whatever it was. But anyway, here we go. Nice big downhill. I need to make maps for Emily of the route. days from now, when I go out for a ride, I'm going to load up the rear end with some weight to really test out the frame. Oh, and Kai built this bike when they sent me my frame, my replacement frame. So he already knows how to build this bike up from a Vaast to a 9er. I've been really happy with it. The geometry is almost exactly the same. So it's a racy kind of bike. It's in between, like it's nice. And it's hydroformed aluminum, which makes it really strong, and for aluminum it makes it lighter and stronger, because they use water pressure to shape the tubes, kind of like you can shape carbon fiber to be strong where you want it and less of it where you don't need it to be strong, and you can do the same with hydroformed aluminum. It's really cool. I had a Jamis hydroformed aluminum mountain bike, and they also polished the welds down so you couldn't tell that it was welded, and it looked like carbon fiber. It was really cool because of the shaping of the tubes. Let's see. What else is in the news? Well, on this thing, yeah, I call it the quickening whenever a race or an event's coming up. And you start out of a little bit of anxiety, getting things together. And it takes time. And the smart thing to do is start skipping some workouts. And then that way you're tapering at the same time that you're getting your stuff together. So don't feel guilty like working on your bike and getting stuff together. Like, I need to put more sealant in the front tire. And I remembered something else that's on this bike that is interesting. Is I have the Fillmore valve stems. And what those do is they move the plunger to keep the air in down inside the rim a little bit. And then it allows the plunger to be a whole lot bigger. And then you don't get clogged valve stems from sealant. When you put sealant with regular valve stems, because they're so narrow, they get clogged over time. They start to get sticky, and then you get slow leaks. And you think you're getting a flat tire, but it's actually the valve. You are getting a flat tire, but it's the valve stem. It's not like a thorn or something like that. It's just got a slow leak. And you can replace the valve stem and stuff like that. But what if that just never happened? And Fillmores do that. And you can put sealant in your tires straight through the valve stem without having to remove the core. I've been doing that forever. It's pretty cool. So I have that on this bike and also on my mountain bike. And then for gravel, another upside of riding a metal bike like a steel or aluminum bike is that bike combat is just throwing rocks left and right. The rocks shooting out. If you watch footage from inside a gravel race from somebody wearing a camera like Justin McQuarrie, makes great videos, you can hear bang, dang, ding of those rocks bouncing. And carbon frames do not like that at all. I've been upping my running mileage, and I think that's what's making my legs tired too. This is pretty cool. Probably do a little bit of aero. Oh yeah, so speaking of that, while we have some daylight, I talk forever about CG's pads. They changed my life in triathlon. They're thicker elbow pads. And on a road bike, a triathlon bike, you know, especially when we're riding like 25 millimeter tires, 23s, you know, rough road like chip seal, a little bit potholes here and there. The stock elbow pads that come on these things suck. They're thin. It's a little bit of marketing, you know, they want them to be as light as possible. Say these aero bars are lighter, but it's not cool how after a while it's just you're banging your elbows into the metal or the carbon fiber that's under the pad. So CG's is the original company that I remember. Makes thicker pads, and then they last years and years and years and years. 10 years, I guess, of thick comfort. And then so what it does is while you're in the aero position, it adds suspension. And 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 centimeters, which is fantastic for gravel. And then I have a suspension stem. That's another thing on this bike that's kind of hidden. And so you can see like it does this, right? And so when we moved stuff over, while the Vaast was in the shop, I put the aero bars with those CG's pad on my single speed. And I want to keep using my single speed for fun and for training and racing on occasion. So I left them on there. And then for my birthday this summer, I got these aero bars that are lighter, faster, better. They're the modern upgrade, you know. Yeah, see the suspension stem is nice while you're in the hoods here and you're banging in the rocks and lumpy stuff. We're going to turn the light to solid here. So if it's irritating you, just be patient. I'm trying to save it. Flashing uses less than half the battery probably. That's solid. And then when I was in the garage, I was looking for something else entirely. I don't remember. And came across some mountain bike grips, flat bar grips. I think they're Giant brand. And they're really ridgy, thin silicone. Well, they're thick, but they're real grippy if they get wet. But also they're kind of thick. And for gravel, because that's what's on my other aero bars, I just noticed like it's so amazing when the gravel, well, gravel, you know, goes from being smooth. There's like category 1, category 2, category 3. And it happens randomly, so you don't know when it's going to happen. You hit a surprise rough spot. The padding and the softer grip up here allows you to stay in the aero position without getting knocked out of it far longer. So I'm super, super excited. I've done one long ride with these upgrades. Oh, so CG's never replied to my email because the ones I wanted were out of stock. And I messaged them twice. I think I even called and I said, hey, when are they going to be back in stock? And I never got a reply. But this other brand popped up, Otto, O-T-T-O. And they're 1 millimeter thinner than the CGs. And so I bought them. I think they're made in the United States. That or they're European. And I've been super happy with them. So Otto is my new friend. Okay, just imagine the difference here between soft, squishy, like supple, versus just hard and banging around. You can just like live in this. And then when you hit a rough spot like this, you can hold on to your grip. Elbows stay in place. It's way better. And the gravel races I've done, let's say 8. Some of them really long. And when you're riding into a headwind and it's the second half of the race and the race is all broken up, and you just roll past people that are riding on regular bars without aero bars, and you can tell you're not even trying as hard and you just go past. That's all you need, you know, when somebody gives you crap about having aero bars on your gravel bike. You're like, dude. And then also hand fatigue is actually for adventure, long distance stuff. Your hands start to hurt, and then this takes the load off your hands, and you're resting on your elbows. But what really helps is those thicker pads from Otto, O-T-T-O. Got a right turn right here. Really nice. Haven't seen any really interesting creatures yet. I'm about to switch this light because it's starting to get annoying. Oh, the other thing I was going to show y'all while it was light, but now it's a little late, but maybe it'll show up. I'm wearing a RoadID band. And for those that don't know, RoadID many, many years ago came out with a, you know, like an ID badge you can wear on your band. Or wear on your wrist. I mean, you can get one on your necklace too, or something like that. But in case something happens to you, you get hit by a car, they find you in a ditch. Right on your wrist, you have some ID phone numbers and stuff. And you can also put a quote. And I put David Goggins is a hard mutton. I put what we think we become, which is true. So anyway, but it's funny because I'm always wearing a diving watch, like a Casio Duro or a Seiko something, and I haven't been because this thing's nice, like it looks cool. And with black, it's like the executive version. And this morning was one of the first times in 15 years or something that I've worn it on a run. And this morning of all times, I could have used the other watch because I tried running and recording to the voice memo on this bad boy right here. And it was awesome, sorta. The sound quality is not as good as I wanted. but still, it was pretty good. And yeah, I think now we're going to start switching over to a solid light. And once these cars go past. The way that tire is barely rubbing the inside of the fork, I checked the rim. I put it on a truing stand, and the rim is straight. It's the tire, not the wheel. And I'm kind of just thinking, I just wear the tire out. Oh, but we're going to talk about that. I got some new wheels. That's going to cause a problem for that. I'll remember that in a minute. But so I was recording. I just recorded the entire run. Just left the recorder on, and then as I thought of things, pulled my hand up and talked to my watch, and it worked. Except, as far as I can tell, you can't get off that screen of the recorder. I wanted to see my run and the time of day, how many minutes I've been going. And that would have been really nice to have the other watch on my wrist if I do that again. I lose the RoadID to do that. But I'm sure they open up my phone or something, figure out who I am. I got a vehicle behind me. It's that four-wheeler gator thing, I think. Yeah. A little bit of burn climbing that hill. Way better, thank you. Since we're out here, we're going to take this gravel road too. There's often some dogs out here that chase me. Oh yeah, we got a blinky light mode is over. There we go. I'll mess with it in a second to see what brightness it's on. We're going to stay out of the aero bars on a road we haven't ridden on in the dark in a while. But it was interesting, like running and then just on occasion pulling my wrist up to my mouth and talking. And it definitely worked, and it was easier. It was way easier, except for not knowing the time or how long I've been going. Because I like to kind of drink on a schedule. And but what I noticed was the audio quality. Oh, there was a deer back there. The audio quality was kind of It was actually pretty subpar and quiet. Like I'd have to jack up the volume a lot. So I don't know if I'm going to continue doing that. And then another cool thing that's happened recently is I was visiting Kai at the bike shop. He works at REI bike shop here in town. And he didn't tell me he was like a pro mountain bike and gravel racer until after they hired. They're like, what? Why didn't you tell us? And we were bugging him, like, tell him. He's like, no, yeah. He's pretty modest. But anyway, so they love him working there, from what I understand. We talked to his boss, because we shop there. We end up on occasion talking to a manager. They're like, guy's so great. He really knows his stuff. It's like, yeah. A mix of racing and then growing up with me, taking the time to show them. But I could tell, like, only half of it sinks in, you know, because they're too young. But it's kind of like good nutrition. You know, you tell them to eat spinach and their leafy greens all the time, and you make them do it. And then they just get in the habit. Same thing with, like, checking your tire pressure. For that grinding sound, you need to lube your chain. If your bike sounds like a nest of baby birds, that means you need to lube your chain. So, yeah, anyway, I was at the shop. I went by to visit him, say hi one time. And he goes, check this out. And there was a pair of Hunt wheels, carbon gravel wheels. By the, just kind of laying there. And he said somebody else that works there or came in and was either going to sell them or give them away because they're kind of old. And there's something wrong with the rear hub, but it's totally repairable. We're going to stop at the top here. I don't want to stop down here and start all over again. I'm going to show you all the light on the back. That is hilarious. And they're no better than Kai's wheels that he's already got. Kai's are actually a little bit more aero. But he's like, maybe you want them? I was like, yeah, keep me in the loop if he sells them, you know, for really cheap. Yeah, sure. And it's kind of the Zen thing. If you wait around long enough and you put yourself in the right environment, luck kind of happens. And then that was like a month or two ago. And we'll do the rear light where it's darker. It's really bright right here. So the guy's giving them away, and Kai brought them over to my house. I said, I got a present for you. I was like, sweet. Oh yeah, and then he goes, after I go, they didn't feel like carbon. When you tap them, they sound like metal. But I Googled them. They're the 25, which means internal width, 25 CGRs or GCRs or whatever, and the C is carbon. Yeah, maybe CGR, carbon gravel race or something like that. So they're really good wheels. And he's like, well, okay, there's something wrong with the rear hub, like the ratchet system inside. I'm like, okay. So that'll be $100, you know. And then he said, oh yeah, they're hookless. And I was like, God damn it. I do not like that. But I did some Googling, and at lower tire pressures, like gravel, especially with 50 millimeter tires and 25 millimeter internal width. Oh, they have bladed spokes too. Cool. Here's some animals. There's a couple deer. Tires should stay on. But I got a problem with this front tire, the way it's got a manufacturing defect in it. I'm like, and then if I go from these rims, which are narrower, to a wider 25 millimeter, I mean, they are wide on the inside, then that's gonna balloon out the tire, and this front tire is going to rub the fork a lot on that defective little bump it's got in it. And also on a hookless rim, do I want to put on a tire that I already know is not perfect? For people that are unaware, cycling has a big controversy over doing hookless rims because the little hook on the edge of the rim keeps the tire on better. If you have sudden pressure loss from a flat, or not even, you're just riding through a turn really fast, it's been known for the tire to come off. And nobody asked for these things. The manufacturers just started making them. And then they thought they were onto something. It turns out people don't want it. So there's a huge backlash against it. But I don't know, for a bigger tire, lower pressure, they're less likely to pop off. Especially wider, I think, helps a lot too. So I'll give it a try. And the sucky thing is that, carbon wheels, if you're riding aluminum wheels, are like one of the biggest upgrades you could possibly make to your bike. Rotational weight is so much slower. That extra pound on the frame going from a Vaast to a 9er, that's almost nothing. No big deal. But rotational weight in your wheels, you have to spin them up. Every time you slow down, every time you coast, every time you brake, you gotta spin those wheels back up to speed. And we're gonna do something special here. I'm gonna trip y'all out. Some of y'all already know what this is. Check that thing out. Let's take this light off. This has been here for, I think, a couple years now. Nobody messes with it. They used to have a Trump flag on top, but I don't know what they're trying to say. If that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get back going. Let's see if this, yeah, that face is like so cool. It's digital, but it looks like the radioactive tritium stuff that lasts 25 years and supposedly doesn't give you wrist cancer. Or some sort of blood or bone cancer. So this is Zoe, because she's a girl. This is her pink collar. She asked for a pink collar. Anyway, and so for a few rides now, I've hung this off the back of my bike or off my back of my butt on my running belt. And it lasts a really long time because it's flashing, right? And when we get back into town a little bit on this one road that's got some traffic, I just think that's so cool because it's so, what I say, it's so unnatural that it really freaks out cars, and they see you and they're like, I'm gonna stay the hell away from whatever that is. And that's all you need. Oh, we're gonna test out. Yeah, you have so many different like headlamps and stuff. What each one does is all different. Let's see, do I, yeah, I remember now, it's a single click. Look at that. So we're gonna go medium bright because we're gonna go off-road. Because I think if we go like hyper bright, it burns through battery really fast. And do a fuel. We're gonna have an IPA when we get back to the house. Celebrate this nice little ride. Here comes a car. I'm gonna well, I got gravel right here. So I can just ride on this while they go by. That right there is one of the coolest things about, I noticed the very first time I went gravel biking, is you can get so much further off the road, farther. We could do one more bright because this road's really short. Let's see. So a lot of roads that you normally wouldn't ride down on a road bike or a triathlon bike, because there's no shoulder. There actually is a little bit of a shoulder. You just don't want to ride on it on a road bike because it'll give you a flat tire. But with gravel bikes or mountain bikes, you can ride way off to the side, right? At some point, I'm going to catch a crash on film. I don't want to. I'm going to jinx myself. But whatever. Woo! Frog. Ha! Every time at night, there's a frog that jumps past right there. That is so funny. It did it again. Even though I haven't ridden out here on this road in a while. Now at night with lights, it is hard to see what's sand and what's gravel. And I've heard there's sand on this route we're doing. But anyway, on my triathlon bikes, I remember when I upgraded to carbon aero wheels, zips, 404 front, 808 rear. Holy crap. The speed increase was just insane. And my mountain bike, I got a full suspension Canyon Neuron, but with metal wheels, it's like, God, it's so slow. And one reason when I do gravel biking that I don't really race off the front is my bike with metal wheels is just not competitive. That's how a big difference carbon wheels make. And so I just ride casual. Let's see if Zeke is back. Well, I ride kind of semi-hard. That sounded weird. Medium. Oh, Ezekiel! Okay, let me turn this light down. Hi, look, there's Ezekiel. Okay, I'm gonna put it on low. And also, I'm gonna save this video into 2 files. So let's